G'day guys, welcome back to this week's fishing report. Let's get straight into what's been biting around Sydney. So over the past week, we've had a bit of inclement weather. So our traditional sort of late winter and early spring species have been more consistent on the bite. So our snapper, our salmon, our brim, and some of our flathead have been really good. First things, our snapper out offshore, when the conditions are suited in shallow, the snapper is still around smashing soft plastics. 5-inch style Daiwa jerk shad soft plastics. My favorite is the baby bass. Have been producing some nice fish in excess of 60 centimeters, particularly on the northern parts of our Sydney offshore regions around the northern beaches and stuff like that. Moving on to our salmon. The salmon still are around in the Port Hacking. Using the drone has been producing some really nice fish. Being able to use the drone on that run-in tide to go find where they are. They're not afraid of the boats. They'll swim around your boat just fine. They're only going to feed though in short periods, probably for an hour to an hour and a half. And over the last couple of months, that's what they've been doing. They're in the sporting phase right now as well. So please be careful with where you're going. But using the drone, flying the drone up, finding the school, heading over, targeting them on surface lures, teasing them into the bite has been the trick. Casting as far as you can with a Daiwa slippery dog is what I've been using in Annamite color. As soon as it lands on the water, winding it as quick as I can for 4 or 5 meters, get it really scurrying across the surface, then pause it, and then start twitching it, and the salmon just come along and absolutely nail the surface lure. So that's our salmon. Our brim, under boat holes, under moorings, have been really good with the stronger tides. Now, the last week we've had a stronger tide in the afternoon than we have in the morning in the lead up to this full moon, which is happening over this weekend. The stronger tides have been producing the brim on those back eddies. So where the tide is rushing past, but there is a slower part of the tide because it's protected by a piece of structure, whether it be a boat sitting on the water, a bridge pylon, or a jetty or anything like that. The brim will hang in the slower current area and let the fast current go around them and wait for a bait to fall off into that fast current area. They'll scurry out, grab it, and come back in. A flathead, again, have been producing really well. On the shallow flats around the top end of that run out tide has seen some nice flathead and a few whiting here or there. If we had I think the whiting is still probably 2 to 3 weeks off, depending on the weather. We need the water temperature to go up above that 19, 20 degree mark, realistically, to see some consistent surface lure whiting. There's a few here and there, but it's going to come over the next couple of weeks if we have some nice hot weather to push that surface water temperature up as well, to push them onto the flats and get them feeding. But back to our flathead, top of the tides, people have been using some Ben Minnow style hard bodies to target them on the flats. Again, you can use your drone, see if you can find a few on the flats, just sitting there on that run outside. Some cool footage of people doing that. But also fishing the edges on the back end of that run out tide the last couple of hours over the weekend. That's what I did. Used the top end of the tide, went up onto the flats, targeted some whiting and flathead. And then the second half of that tide, to the last 3 hours of that tide, went onto an edge and fished the edge of a sandbank and caught some nice flathead doing that. Very easy, very simple technique to use on soft plastics. All right, before we get into where to go fishing this week, and I want to firstly thank the 2 supporters of Reel Fishing, Salty Captain and 7 Seas Apparel. Firstly, 7 Seas Apparel has been with Reel Fishing for many years now, and they provide me with some awesome apparel to be wearing out fishing or anytime during the week. Whether it's hanging out with the family during the week or heading out on the boat over the weekend, 7 Seas Apparel has you covered for everything. They've got fishing jerseys that are sunproof, SPF 50, that will protect you from the sun. They are long sleeves, so you do not have to apply as much sunscreen all over your body as well. They're really good to be able to head out and have a fish. They've got comfy t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, caps, beanies, all sorts of stuffs, shorts as well for you guys. And as always, if you use code REELFISHING10, you're going to save yourself 10% off anything 7 Seas Apparel at checkout as well. The second company I'd like to thank is Salty Captain. Salty Captain has recently come on board, but I've used Salty Captain for many years now. It's pretty cool that a product that I've been using for numerous years have actually reached out and wanted to join everything that we do here at Real Fishing. And if you use code REALFISHING15, you'll save yourself 15% off anything Salty Captain. I use the salt wash and the engine flush every time I go out fishing. Once the boat's back on the trailer, it takes me 5 minutes to clean the boat and flush the engine, and I'm done. I'm off the water, off the ramp, and back in the car, driving back home within 5 minutes, while everyone else is still washing down their boats and flushing out their engine. It's so much easier. It's quick, it's easy to use, and don't forget, you get 15% off with code REALFISHING15. But now let's head into this weekend and talk about where you should be going out fishing this weekend. Now, what I'm going to be focusing on is the morning, mainly because on Saturday and Sunday, the afternoon winds look to be quite strong, in excess of 35, 40 k's an hour. So for me, if you're going to go out in the afternoon, I'd head into our southwesterly corners on Saturday. So Southwest Arm is a really good one for that in the Port Hacking. Warrenora River and Towra are really good ones in Botany Bay for the afternoons for Saturday and Sunday. So if you're going to go out on those days when the wind's kicking up a little bit, you got to be protected and you got to be in those windy corners. So that's where I'd be going. There still will be some fish about in there. Looking at Saturday, and like I said, we're looking in the morning. We've got a 4:45 a.m. low tide and about a 10:30 a.m. high tide. And over the last couple of reports, if you haven't watched, I've been talking about that Brinian tide and particularly talking about kingfish and salmon and how they are biting at the top end of that rut-in tide. So about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm expecting there to be a nice salmon and kingfish bite on Saturday morning. What I would be doing, heading out if I can to find a few live baits, some yellowtail, some squid if you want. If not, rigging up some nice soft plastics, 5-inch Daiwa jerk shads are a really good one. Or even a nice surface lure, Slippery Dog 97, if you're looking for one as well. Could be really good on our lure side to target our salmon and kingfish. Now, being able to find those areas where they're going to be biting though. So, areas where the kingfish and the salmon have been. Burraneer Bay, Main Bar, and Darrook Beach have been the three main areas where the kingfish and the salmon have been. Now, the salmon will generally start in Burraneer Bay at the start of that running tide. They'll go over the flat, they'll work their way out to Main Bar, and then finish at Darrook Beach right at the top end of the tide. So if you're there nice and early in the morning, you might be able to find them and chase them all the way around to the top end of that tide and have some great fun on surface lures. Again, Daiwa Slippery Dog, Anamai color, perfect for your salmon. If we're targeting our kingfish, we're going in similar areas in the Port Hacking. I'm going to go on the outside part of Burraneer Bay, so the main channel. There's a nice deep drop off there where the kingfish have been hanging around in that run-in tide, where it jumps in from about 2.5 meters and it drops down to about 10 meters as well. They're going to hang on that drop off and just slowly drifting over with some live baits or your lures. You should be able to find some nice kingfish there too. The kingfish are also out at Lily Pilly on that drop off at Lily Pilly as well. So slow trolling your live bait around the edge of that drop off and looking at your sounder to see if there's any kingfish around. Going to produce some nice fish as well. In Botany Bay for Saturday morning, targeting our kingfish, runways, Yarra Bay, Watts Reef are our three main areas. Again, you can go grab some live bait around the runways there. There's a live bait spot there that you can all go grab some yellowtails very quickly, head around to the runways and fish your live baits, or you can obviously use some soft plastics or some surface lures as well around those areas. For me, I'm not going to be anchoring up around the runways if I'm going there. I'm going to move from spot to spot, see where the fish are, see where they're most active first, then I'm going to spend that time in that spot rather than going to one spot, anchoring up for a couple of hours and not catching a fish. Want to be mobile, moving around really easily, and having something like a water snake geo spot is going to be able to help you out too. I can quickly spot lock if I want to, drop out my live bait, leave it there for 5 minutes, see if something happens. If not, I can quickly pull that up and get moving again very quickly. So that's the plan for Saturday. Let's look into Sunday. And Sunday we've got a southwesterly breeze across the majority of the day. Now, southwesterly breezes are generally stronger than what's predicted. It's predicted to be about 15 to 20 k's an hour at the moment. It could raise up above 30 to 35. Please make sure you're checking the weather app before you're heading out at any time. So Sunday, I'm going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing that I'm going to be doing on Saturday. But what I'm going to be looking at is, again, we're going to look at that running tide, but we're going to change the spots we might want to fish because of that southwesterly wind. Now, if we're in the Botany Bay, for example, a southwesterly wind along those runways can be very tough fishing. The wind is going to be pushing straight into those runways, and it can be very uncomfortable and very hard to fish. So, if we're targeting kingfish and salmon in Botany Bay or the Georges River on Sunday morning, I'd head to Towra, Watts Reef, all of that southern side of the bay, and fish all of those areas. Look for the birds. There's going to be some surface action, I reckon, with the salmon, and the kingfish won't be far away, especially around Watts Reef and all those corners there. If you head further down the estuary using the bridges, so Captain Cook and Tom Uglies, there's been some nice kingfish caught there as well, anchoring up off the back eddy of those bridges, have been producing some nice mulloway and kingfish using live baits or squid strips. So if you want to go there, head there. In the Port Hacking, what I'm going to be fishing is Southwest Arm, and particularly the drop off of the main channel into the main bay of Southwest Arm there. Okay, there's a nice big sand flat there right opposite Lillipilly, and it drops off into Southwest Arm, or the bay of Southwest Arm. I'm going to be fishing that edge there and targeting kingfish. I'll be using live baits or soft plastics and keeping my eye out for some surface action, seeing if there's any salmon or kingfish around, making sure I have a spare setup ready to go in case that does happen. So that's my plan for this weekend. Targeting the mornings mainly because of the weather, using the run-in tide, and targeting kingfish and salmon would be the plan. Again, you can go target your brim, your whiting, your flathead, all as well. But over the past couple of weeks, that run-in tide has been proven the best time to be targeting kingfish and salmon. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to follow that pattern over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully it works. If it doesn't, then I might go for a brim around moorings and stuff like that as well. But that's the plan for the weekend. Hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget, code REALFISHING10 to save yourself 10% off 7 Seas apparel, and code REALFISHING15 to save yourself 15% off anything Salty Captain. And yeah, we'll see you next week for the fishing report. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn that notifications bell on so you know when the next fishing report is coming. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.